Welcome to the San Diego Bay National Wildlife Refuge. Here at the south end of San Diego Bay is a wonderful location for people to enjoy nature and to watch wildlife. San Diego Bay has undergone a significant transformation over the last 100 years. Much of the northern part of San Diego Bay has been developed, while here in the south end of San Diego Bay, much of the native wildlife still remains.
It's a mix of habitats that gets you the most species, and why birders like coming down to the south end of San Diego Bay or to the Tijuana estuary is to see a mix, beach, tidal channel and bay, mudflat, vegetated marsh, be it Salicornia or Spartina, the tidal influence, or permanent ponds like you have at the salt works.
About 100 years ago, the salt works behind me was formed by diking off the salt marsh and now makes salt from bay water. Water is taken into the salt ponds and is evaporated to form salt.
This salt works has been in operation in one form or another since the late 1800s, and actually before Westerners arrived, the Native Americans would collect salt in natural salt pans here at the south end of San Diego Bay. So this is all diked off, and what they do is they produce sodium chloride and magnesium chloride through solar evaporation. They just bring in water from the bay and let it evaporate. And so it's a very unique system. And so why is this a national wildlife refuge? It's because the salt works provides isolation for a suite of mostly birds that we were focused on, bird species, that can use these resources, even though they're artificial, they can use them in this environment that's around them today. So these salt ponds are very, very saline. They're too saline for fish to live in, but they're not too saline for invertebrates to be present. And so the shorebirds behind me are here on migration, and many of them breed in the prairie, some of them breed in the Arctic, and they're passing through to San Diego on their migratory pathway. So there's a river of birds up and down the west coast of North and South America that these animals are representing as part of.
We are now restoring these salt ponds back to the native habitat conditions here in South San Diego Bay. Here we have changed the salt ponds by moving sediment from one pond into the next and creating tidal channels. And we've also then breached the levees so that they are tidally connected to San Diego Bay. This allows birds and wildlife to flourish in these salt ponds. As you can see, there's now a number of birds that use these salt ponds for foraging and nesting.
We recognize the value of these salt ponds, and especially combined with the more natural system of the intertidal bay, and then across the Otay you can see our year-and-a-half-old Western Salt Pond restoration site. You see it starting to grow vegetation out there, and in a year or two that's going to be fantastic habitat for one of the endangered species in our own backyard, the light-footed clapper rail. And soon rails will have more places to stay in the bay, and importantly, this type of habitat, this intertidal habitat, is what's mostly been lost from this system and from systems up and down the coast.
The San Diego Wildlife Refuges are in metropolitan San Diego, home for over 3.5 million people. And in the midst of all of this, we have incredible wildlife resources. But the wildlife refuges are also part of the local communities. Here at Imperial Beach at 13th Street, we have an outdoor classroom where children from the local schools have been involved in the restoration and the planting of native vegetation here on this site. Importantly, the County of San Diego funded and built an outdoor classroom on this site where students and children and people from the neighborhood can come out and enjoy the incredible wildlife and the views of San Diego Bay. Inscribed on the nautilus shell of this outdoor classroom is a quote from Rachel Carson. "There is something infinitely healing in the repeated refrains of nature, the assurance that dawn comes after night and spring after the winter."